It's gone from opportunistic crime to breaking into houses, pulling people out of cars, using weapons. All of that frightens me that's where we're at.
Say in 10 years' time, walking down Thuringowa Drive, what would you like to see?
Look, I'd like to see every commercial building full. I'd like to see every child have the opportunity for education. I'd like to see it green. If we could keep it green, that would be nice.
Yeah.
And also too, I would really like to see people brave enough to go out and walk at 6 and 7 o'clock at night with their dog and their family like they used to.
What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
A lot of people do find it quite surprising that I've been a single parent since my daughter was 6.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Matt at Helen podcast, the show where we dive into people's stories and ideas shaping life here in Townsville. So on today's episode, we have a guest, someone who's been walking the streets of Thuringowa for decades, not as just as your local member, as a neighbour, volunteer, and someone who's got true North Queensland grit in her DNA. She grew up in Kelso in a home that's been in her family for 4 generations. She's worked up the front counter as a small business, put hours in and volunteers with Crime Stoppers, and in 2014 was named Queensland Volunteer of the Year. So,
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie Marr. Thank you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's really exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great chat.
Yeah, can't wait.
So, I guess, all right, well, we'll just dive in and see what happens.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, so you grew up in Kelso, 4 generations.
Yep.
I think that's rare these days. What do you remember from growing up?
Yeah, look, my mum and dad still live in their first home. So we moved to Townsville when I was 7, lived in South Townsville, 2 doors down from my great-grandmother.
Yep.
And then we lived in a housing commission home in Wallaroo for a period of time. And back in those days, it was, you save up to buy your first home and move on. Mum and Dad were very house proud of that property, and then we moved to Kelso, from Wallaroo to Kelso. You can imagine the hike across there, and they've been there ever since. They brought us up. Then they've, now they have their great-granddaughter there with them and bringing her up as well. So, yes, it's been, I think my mother and father will live there till they die. It's their place, and I don't think they'll go anywhere.
No, that's nice. We've got we moved all around Australia, but we ended up settling in Townsville. And by the time we came here, we were Annandale because we're a military family. So but half the kids, grew up in either Wallaroo and the other half were Annandale. We went to Ross in the middle there. So, and mum and dad have been there forever, and I don't think they're going to move either. So that's a family home, and I get that. We often go around, and everyone just that's the hub for the family. I think everyone knows you go around there, and
But Matt, you know how difficult it's going to be when mum and dad aren't there anymore and you have to sell it for them. Everything you're going to have to take out of that house that they've been into for such a long time. I dread looking at my dad's shed. Yeah. I keep telling him I'll just get them to pick it up and take it to the dump. But they're very proud of living there and they're comfortable. Their neighbours have been there for a long time as well. They're in an area where most people just bought their home and never left.
Yeah.
My dad's actually the lollipop man for the Kelso school, so all the kids know him and he loves it there.
Yeah, I would have probably driven past him a couple of times going to appraisals out there, then getting stopped at the lights.
You'd see him. He waves to everyone.
Yeah, that's so nice. So then after that, was your first job pharmacy, I think, in customer service? So I guess what lessons did you learn from customer service that you take into politics?
So I actually did work experience in pharmacy for a week and fell in love with it. I was actually asked, that was Graham Burke Amcal Pharmacy, the only pharmacy in Townsville open after hours on Charters Towers Road. Yep. And when I did the week there, they asked me if I would stay and work permanently, but, it was work experience. I had to go back and finish my education. But when I was ready, I went back there to work. And the one thing I learned from that experience that I have taken through to every job I've ever had, and I'm a great believer of this, it allows you to get exceptional customer service skills. Back there in the 80s, you had to know all your customers by name. Yeah. We didn't have FPOS. We had the old sliding machine for your credit card. It was a really great time for me to learn, and I had some really good people around me, and I think that's another great thing about life. If you surround yourself with really good people, you can learn a lot. And when my daughter went through school, I made sure she had a job in customer care before she went to uni. She worked at Reading Cinema because I think it's really important that everybody gets the opportunity to know what it's like to be on the other side of the counter.
Yeah, I think
and
so
treat
too.
people with respect. Yeah.
I started off in retail. I had a little job at Lowe's, like after school,
Yeah.
Thursday nights and Saturdays. And
Great
I
way
think
to start. Great way to start. Yeah.
yeah, you just get the whole array of everything, and I think you do, to see how it all works. So when you decided to run for politics, and you told your family, what did they say? Did they say, "Hey, you're crazy for wanting to do that"?
Yeah, look, it was a very different time in my life. So I had no intention of ever getting into politics, but I ran a business for two partners in Townsville, and we were in the Shire of Thuringowa. So it wasn't Townsville City Council then, it was back in those days.
Yeah, the Twin Cities.
Yeah, and Les Tyrrell was the mayor. Yeah. So I was just trying to build the branding and reputation of the gentleman I worked for to make sure that they came out as good community citizens. We would sponsor events through council. We were one of the inaugural Together Thuringowa people for Thuringowa Council. So in 2007, Les Tyrrell approached me because that's when they were going to have the amalgamation of the two cities. And so it was one election for both. Yeah. Really difficult time for everybody. And I had not long lost my sister. She was 39 and had 3 young children. And I had become quite recluse. I didn't want to be out in the community, didn't want people talking to me.
You would have after.
Yeah, so it was a tough decision for me, but I went out and did some door knocking with David Crisafulli, the king of door knocking. I did learn my skills from him. And I really started to enjoy knocking on those doors and talking to people, because all of a sudden I was not Natalie Marr, who they all knew. I was listening to their problems and they weren't asking me for mine. I really, really enjoyed that. But my community base, I loved my community all along, did volunteering and what have you. My daughter was young. Anyway, the election was undivided, and it was 49 candidates on the voting paper, and I drew 47. So I thought, that's it, never going to make it.
And that was down to 12?
It had to go down to 12, yeah. And look, I door knocked 5,000 or so doors, and it's what got me across the line in the end.
Yeah, wow.
I was elected, and I was really fortunate to be the chair of corporate governance and finance. So that was a really tough gig, but I can tell you I learnt a lot, and I think that's what really got me involved in the environment, and loved it ever since.
Yeah, that would have been hard, especially coming over from Thuringowa to Townsville, because out of the 2 cities that joined up, there wouldn't have been many members from Thuringowa that ended up making the team.
Yeah, and look, it was a difficult time, and I always say to people, it's all very well to have an election every 4 years, people come and go, but one thing that usually maintains the same is the staff. And during the amalgamation, yes, it was tough for those that weren't re-elected, but I think it was tougher for the staff that had to go through the whole process. Like, I think we had 12 directors and we had to get down to 7. So, people were actually being made redundant that had thought that was going to be their lifetime.
Yeah,
so,
be there forever.
and look, there's some wonderful staff in the council. I've kept in touch with some of them over the years, but they're the ones that really suffered. There were so many changes. And, the finance, we had a $64 million deficit, amalgamating 2 councils. It was a really tough time and tough decisions to be made. When Les asked me to consider taking on the chair of corporate governance and finance, my first answer was no.
Yeah, I understand why.
First-time councillor as well. I didn't want to let people down, and he said, no, I think you'd be great. So I was voted in as that chair, and to make sure that I could do the job the best way I could, I actually did the Australian Institute of Company Directors course, which really gave me a really good foundation of taking that role further. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. It would have been tough, and they're making hard decisions, especially about finance. Yeah.
That's the one that bothers everybody, Matt, the finance, because it hits the back pocket.
Yeah.
And it's tough because, sometimes you have to make really difficult decisions. But the focus that we had in those days, we wanted to get back in the black, but we weren't a council that just wanted to put the rates up just to try and overcome that. So we did find some really good ways of saving within council without removing the services that people expected. So, in a budget, if somebody wanted something for that year, we'd say, well, let's spread it over 4. We just had to be really clever in how we did things, but made sure that the expectation of the residents. You know, they want their bins picked up, they want their water to come out of a tap,
Yeah.
they want their parks to look good. So all the important things we focused on and really found ways to make sure that we could come out of it a better city. And they say it takes about 10 years for an amalgamation to settle down. So what was that, 2007? So
17.
Yeah. And it probably did take that long, maybe a little bit longer for Townsville.
Yeah, because rates is that one lever that they can pull if they want to start doing everything.
They can. Yeah. Look, it is the biggest revenue of council.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to put that aside and think that's the easy way to do your
What else can
budget.
we do?
And that's why councillors are elected. They're elected to make sure that they fight for the rights of their residents. And it's not just about making sure their bins are picked up. It's about making sure that they are respecting ratepayers' money, like we do with taxpayers' money.
Yeah, exactly. So today now, like out there door knocking, and one of the things you've been doing is the chats with Nat.
Yeah, chat with Nat. Yeah, I've had that slogan for a long time, Matt. I used to do that for real estate. So about 6 or 7 years I've been having chat with Nat.
Yeah.
People walk past me at shopping centre and go, "Hey, chat with Nat." I love it.
Yeah, keep it. That is a good one. Keep it.
It makes me real. It makes me real. Yeah.
What's one of the funniest things that people have come up and want to chat about?
You know, I think it's a little bit different for me. I'm a bit of a hugger, Matt, and people are starting to feel really comfortable with me. So my daughter would come to the Willows with me and she'll say, "Oh my God, do you know how many people you hug a day?" There is no limit to what people want to talk to me about. Sometimes it's really, really emotional for them, and sometimes it's just need to listen. Other times people want to tell me really funny stories, and I wish I had written a book. Even my door knocking days was... there's some good stories there as well. But, look, I think the most important part about my job when people come to talk to me is to really listen to what they're saying. And I've always done this in my council days, and now I don't always have the answers, and I don't want to pretend that I do. So I'm really honest. If somebody comes to me with an issue and I don't know the answer, I'll just say to them, I don't know the answer, but let me find out for you. And I think people respect that more than trying to solve their problem right there in front of them.
Yeah, so it taught you to, really listen.
Yeah. And, I think it helps me remember people. So I'll see somebody I haven't seen for 12 months or 6 months, and they'll go, "Do you remember me?" And I'll go, "Oh, where did I meet you?" And they might say, "On the Strand or at Riverway." And I go, "Oh, the conversation we had was..."
Yeah, and then it starts to come out.
Yeah, it blows them away. And that's because I genuinely want to listen to what they have to say. So I usually remember a story more than a person, so be very careful what you tell me, Matt.
That's why, and I shouldn't admit it, but even with us, like being in real estate, I think we remember everything about the house. Like you've been into a house 5-6 years ago, and you could pretty much draw the floor plan and know what happened with that. Sometimes it's hard to remember everyone's name.
It's funny because I remember when I was letterbox dropping and door knocking with my friend during the election, and we're walking down the street and I go, "I sold that house, I sold that house, I sold that house." You think, "Oh my God, I sold a lot of houses." But then somebody would come up to me at the election and they'd walk in to vote. They'd go, "Oh, Natalie, you sold my house." And I go, "Oh, what was the address?"
Yeah.
And I could rattle off what it was, what year it was, but ask me their name, I probably would struggle.
Yeah, I think that's most days.
Doesn't make for a good politician when you don't remember names, I'm sorry.
So you were named Crime Stopper Volunteer of the Year.
Yeah, that was a real honour.
Yeah. What sparked your interest in with that sort of space?
So look, when I was in council, I was invited to go to a meeting for Crime Stoppers because it was actually falling apart in Townsville and they weren't really achieving what the expectations of a volunteer group was. So I just went along to the meeting to have a listen. I couldn't take any role other than support them because I was a councillor. So I started going to all the meetings, got really involved, and in 2012 I wasn't re-elected to council. Yep. And in hindsight, probably one of the best things that happened to me at the time. I went to a meeting and within 5 minutes it was, we vote for Natalie to be chair, and it was second and passed before I could even take a breath. But I loved the challenge. And it wasn't just me. I had the police rep. He was great because every volunteer group has a representative from police. Yeah. He was brilliant. He was really engaged, had been for a very long time. So we had their support, but we grew that to about 19 to 21 members. We met the first Tuesday of every month, and we went from having nothing and raising nothing to, pardon me, we would go to 4 or 5 events a year. We would raise about $10,000 a year. I think we're recognised for that.
Yeah.
To have grown so well and to have such a stable group that could contribute to the city. So yeah, I was nominated Volunteer of the Year by my own group, and I accepted that award with great pride because I did work really, really hard. But can I tell you, we used to say we're a family. So we would go and have our meetings, do what we had to do, and then we'd all go and have a meal together. So I think that's what I enjoyed most about it. It was really an honour to accept something like that on behalf of such a great group of people.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And I think it is the people behind those volunteer organisations, because Crime Stoppers back then was a big thing. Like you heard it was everywhere. But yeah, you don't really hear about Crime Stoppers as much as you did.
Yeah, look, Queensland's the only state that has volunteers.
Yeah.
So, in other states, it's probably, you hear about a lot more because it sits within their police departments, I think. But look, they still exist. But I think the problem is with every volunteer group, it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers. And if you're not engaging them all year round, they tend to drop off. And I think the success of ours was we did something all the time.
You had the meal together afterwards. Everyone felt close.
And every event that the council had, we would take along. So that was great. We never had to do any marketing or anything. We would just turn up with our gazebo. We had some good sponsors to make sure that we had material to give out to people. It was a really good time. And I think every volunteer group, and that's why we had a volunteer inquiry with state government, because people are struggling to get volunteers to stay engaged, and we really need to fix that up.
Yeah, because I guess life gets busy. Everyone's got families, kids, schools, all that sort of thing. And then to go outside your zone to do that. Yeah.
And look, when I was a kid, you did one sport.
Yep.
Now you've got kids are doing 3 and 4 different sports all year round.
Yeah,
So
probably music and things like that as well. Yeah.
I think one of the problems too, though, is I think it's just unfortunate because lives are so busy, parents aren't doing any volunteering and their children aren't seeing it. So we've missed a generation or two of people coming up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, my daughter was a volunteer at 13. She was a Crime Stoppers volunteer. She did Cancer Council. She did the MS Swimathon. Got really involved because that's what she grew up with. And I think that might be missing some of our lives through no fault other than we've just become really busy.
Yeah. So who were your role models locally when you were growing up?
Yeah, look, that's a tough one. When I said I surrounded myself with good people, the gentleman that first employed me in pharmacy was Alan Donald and John Savina, 2 very decent men that they ran their businesses like families as well. They respected everybody. We all became family. And then when I got into council, the one thing I did notice was Les Tyrrell always had time for people. It didn't matter where he was, he would stop and say hello.
Yeah.
And to this day, and all along that I have been in this community, people have always said he always had time for me. He was just a people's person. And I looked at that and thought, that's exactly who I want to be. I want people to know that, if Nat's there having a coffee, I can stop in and say hello or have a chat. And I think I really learnt a lot from him.
You're not sitting up there in a tower sort of looking down.
And look, the Premier, I will call him David. I know I have to call him Premier, but David Christofouli was also somebody that when I was in council was great support for a conversation. And look, we didn't always agree because, he was in planning, I was in finance, and we didn't always agree. But the one thing I really liked about David and Les Tyrrell was the fact that they would allow you to have that conversation. You could challenge them and have, vote the way that you thought was the right thing for the people that you're representing.
Yeah.
But David did teach me the art of door knocking. He's been doing it for a very long time. Most people hate it, and I will be honest, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Oh, it's tough. It's getting outside your comfort zone.
I lost 10 kilo in the last election, so that was good. But in an election, it's difficult because you are trying to impress upon people what's important to them is important to you. And not many people trust politicians. I get that. But I say I'll never be a politician. I'll always be a member of parliament because I believe a politician is in it for themselves and a member of parliament does it for their people.
Do you think, sorry to interrupt, but with that, with politics, like previously you'd only see a politician leading into an election, like in that sort of lead up, in that sort of a couple of months prior, that they would knock on business doors, they'd knock on your door, then suddenly, then you wouldn't hear from them for the next sort of 3 years, and the election comes around again and they start doing it again. But one of the things I've noticed, like looking at your socials when we're sort of leading into this, you are out in the community a lot more.
Well, I ran in 2020. Did very well. I think I had the highest swing in Queensland, but it wasn't enough. So I stayed engaged for 4 years. I was going to local community meetings. There's one out at Kelso that I went to for 4 years. I did the markets every 3 months for 4 years, the last 12 months every Sunday. And I wasn't sure if I was going to run again, but I did have a lot of faith in the LNP, and I wanted people to see us. I wanted to brand us over the 4 years to give people the faith and understanding that we're in the community. I think that's one thing that really did help me be re-elected. I door knocked for 12 months as well, and I gave up real estate to do that. So I just had a part-time job just so I could door knock. And as an MP, I still door knock now. I try to do it every fortnight, at least once a month. I try to have a minimum of 100 doors a month if I can. I like to do a lot more, but people want to talk to you a bit more now that you're the MP. Before people go, no, I've got no problem, see you later, or don't knock on my door again. But the conversation is different. It's not as daunting knocking on a door when you're there as the MP, because the best thing right now is they are so blown away by it because they've never experienced it before. I've only been in for 10 months and I'm still knocking on doors, and people really respect that. You are forcing engagement with them. They don't have to talk to you, but I've had somebody answer the door and he's going, oh my God, is there another election coming around? I said, no, mate, no, I'm your local member. And he was so shocked by that, he had nothing to say. Yet he emailed my office like a week later and said, hey, you got me thinking, and can you help me with this? It was a council issue, but we led him in the right direction. So you're right. I think people are a little bit sick of only seeing politicians on the eve of an election. And I am trying to stay really engaged with my community because it's the only way I'm going to know what they expect of me, and I love it. I do a roadside every week. Some people pull in, people just toot and wave, whatever they want. As long as they can see me out there, I'm happy.
Oh, that's nice. So if you could bottle up the Thuringowa spirit, what would that look like?
The Thuringowa spirit, I think we're quite unique. If you look at the other electorates in Townsville, they sort of, they're all over the place. We are, you can put a definite line down Thuringowa and that's us on that side. We're the western side of the city. There's still a lot of people in Thuringowa from the Thuringowa Shire days, so they're still quite proud. But we are a community that comes together. We have a lot of issues in Thuringowa. I mean, we have the highest rate of domestic violence call-outs in Townsville. Second highest in Queensland is Townsville City. So there's some really, really tough things to deal with in Thuringowa. And the best thing about that is people are becoming more aware. They are looking out for each other. And there's a bit of a saying, I'm sure a lot of people in Thuringowa are laughing at this, we don't need to go past the Willows lights. Everything's from the Willows on. Upper Ross now have their own shopping centre.
That's a great development, that one, the Riverway Plaza.
Yeah. Look, it is a great development. There's some really good things to come. I'm not quite sure what I can talk about. I haven't checked with the developer, but I have seen the plans and it's really exciting. It just means that the Upper Ross don't have to travel all the way into the Willows or the city to do what everybody else has the pleasure of doing. But they look, with my dad being the lollipop man, it's a real community and I love it. Yeah.
So I guess Thuringowa Council, growing up in the area, now Parliament. What's one big change that you've seen out there that you're proud of?
One big change. Look, I'm really proud of our city, actually, to be brave enough to make such a huge change and put the LNP into government. And I think there's all different reasons for that. But I'm most proud. We did go to the election saying that we would bring in the Making Queensland Safer laws by Christmas. That was legislated on the 13th of December. Very proud of that day because it meant that what we had been saying for such a long time was delivered, and it has allowed people to have faith in us. We've got a long way to go. We know that, but we just want to make sure that people can see that what we said we would do it. if there's changes that need to be made along the way, we're going to be a government that's brave enough to do it. And also to some of the government departments in Townsville, when you go to see them, I'm feeling really proud because they make me feel very special because they haven't seen members of Parliament go to visit them before. So I'm really proud that people have given us a chance. Now it's our job to make sure that we deliver, and it's not going to be easy. But and I'm also proud that we've started to get a voice. We always had to fight really hard with the Southeast to get our say. And I think you'll notice with our government, with some funding, it's, there's like our activation funding for housing, $2 billion, $1 billion just for regional Queensland, which is great because we don't have to fight so hard. If you also look at the public hearings that we're having with Daniel's Law, with Jack's Law, all of those, we get them to Townsville, to regional Queensland. So I'm really proud that we have a government that has a regional voice. Now, the Premier has said that he will be very aware of the regions. He is, from regional Queensland himself. But he has said for him to be able to fight for things in regional Queensland, he needs really strong MPs to put things on the table. And that's the job of Janelle, Adam and I, to do that, is to make sure that we bring it to Parliament or bring it to the government and say, here we are, and we've got a voice now.
Yeah, this is what our area wants, this is what the area needs.
Yeah. And look, we've got our 3 electorates. Yes, we do. We can all stand on one dividing line on Woolcock Street, hold hands, and we're in our own electorate.
Yeah.
And we said during the election that we will work together because we want our city to thrive. So it doesn't matter where you live in Townsville, we will fight for what we need. I do have a bias to Thuringowa, like Janelle and Adam would for them as well. But we just want our city to prosper. We want to leave it a better place than what it was when we got into Parliament.
Has there been one issue yet that has just frustrated you that you haven't been able to change, Jan?
My frustration is definitely crime, let's face it. That's the number one thing. Door knocking, a lot of people aren't bringing it up as much now because they are seeing a bit of change. The frustration for me is it has gone on for a decade and, if you have a look back in the early days, it was opportunistic crime. Kids were just getting into houses that weren't locked, getting the keys, stealing a car, driving it till they ran out of petrol and then running away. Because it's been a slap on the wrist for such a long time, it's just progressed to more aggressive behaviour, quite violent. It's gone from opportunistic crime to breaking into houses, pulling people out of cars, using weapons. All of that frightens me that that's where we're at.
Oh, yeah.
The frustrating thing for me is it's going to take a long time for us to get to where we want to be. We will never, ever get rid of crime in our city, but I do want people to be able to feel safe in their homes again, and I know a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, and it's not everyone out there doing it. It's not all the kids. It's only like a handful of them.
Yeah, and look, unfortunately, a lot of those kids are actually, the state government are their parents because they've been put into residential care homes and they have not had the care that they needed to take the right path. So we've looked at early intervention. There certainly is a need for detention because some of these kids are doing violent crimes and they should be punished for that and go to detention. But then we can't just let them out on a Friday and wait for them to be back on the Monday. We need to be able to give them rehabilitation. Ours is compulsory 12 months. So that's my biggest frustration, and let's face it, it's probably the biggest of the community as well.
Yeah. So what's housing is huge right now.
Housing, yes.
Where do you see the state government's role in trying to keep housing affordable?
Yeah, so look, we've had to look at a few things, not just the supply of housing, of how we actually supply housing in our as a government as well. We've actually gone through and audited the social housing that we have, and unfortunately, that's another thing that hasn't been looked at for 5 years or more. So we've got people who've never had an audit done on their income. So we've got people living in housing commission homes that are making too much money and they shouldn't be living there. We've got people that have never had a rent change in 5 years, so they're paying, very low rent where on Civvy Street, as a real estate agent, it's on market value.
Yep.
So we've made a few changes there. So some people will have to move out of their homes. We've got a situation where we have a couple who are living in a housing commission house that own property. These things should not be allowed to happen. We've got pensioners.
That doesn't sound...
It's unfair. It's because the system was broken. Over 5 years, none of these None of these checks were made. Nobody was, and the government sets the rules. So if you've got a government department that's not told to check income, not check to look at the rate, the rent return, it's not going to be done. I think they're very grateful for it because it does free up some housing. We've got pensioners who have been paying a higher rent than they should be. So, so we are doing that because that will actually free up some housing for people who need it.
Yeah.
We are looking at some of the elderly or older people that are in a 4-bedroom home that don't need that. They have the option to move to a smaller property and we'll help them do that, not forcing them. It is an option. But we've worked really well with the council and some developers locally to make sure that we've got the best use of the activation funding for housing, residential activation fund. So that is going to open up a lot of blocks. And what this has done, it's allowed us to make the council and developers open the land a lot quicker and to get things moving. There's a lot that we've done for first home buyers as well. But this is another thing. It is going to take a while. Homelessness is an issue as well. And there's a few things I'm looking at with some of the great providers of this city to try and make it better. It all costs money, but also it's costing the government a lot of money that's not getting the best bang for our buck. So we have to be really, really clever and find ways to make sure that we solve that issue. A real estate agent gives, we had 10% vacancy rate in 2017 and here we are at under 1%. So I think you and I might have seen it happening, but others have sort of having kept up with it, and it's to recover from it being so bad, it's hard. And you can't build houses overnight.
No, and because it was such a big lag, and the market was down so long for so long, a lot of builders left the industry. A lot of people went into mines or different industries, things like that. So now that the market's picked up, they're just don't have a lot of the skills to be able to put all these homes on the ground that are needed.
And there were changes made too. I'm not quite sure if you remember, there were some changes made by the Labor government which meant investors got nervous and they started selling off their investment properties. And, that puts up rent. It allowed some properties were sold under market, some were still vacant. There was a lot of people quite concerned about where it was going. And when you lose faith in the industry or you're concerned about your property being vacant for a long time, you end up making decisions that, they've forced your hand, really.
Yeah. So what would your message be to first home buyers out there right now?
Yeah, look, I do feel for those that don't have the bank of mum and dad, because we do know that a lot of parents are helping their kids get into homes, and regional Queensland, especially Townsville, there's a lot of kids that don't have that. So I just want to say to them, don't fear the process. You have to start somewhere. This is the real estate agent coming out of me.
Yeah, I've got some real estate stuff coming up. So.
Look, I just think make that first call. Go to a mortgage broker, speak to your parents, have a chat about what I think some of them will be surprised with what they can do. Look at the first homeowners grant. If they build a new home, they don't have to pay stamp duty. And you would know, a lot of young people go to buy a new home, they don't understand what stamp duty is. A lot of them understand what it is now because they're realising that they're saving a lot of money. And look, we've got mums and dads with their adult children, with their children living in the same home. And that makes for a very difficult time. So if we can get these young ones into their own home. Another thing we've changed, if you bought a new home and you're a first home buyer to get any grants, you couldn't rent out a room in your property because you would lose all the benefits that you got. We've changed that. For two reasons. One, it does allow you to have that, to get into the routine of paying your mortgage and not have such a financial burden, but also means that if you've got a 4-bedroom house and you've got 3 mates living with you, that's 1 to 3 properties that frees up in the rental market that we wouldn't have had before. So this is a government that's really thinking outside the box to try and find ways to solve the housing crisis, and this is one of them. But it also means that kids are getting into their own home, because if you talk to a lot of them, they don't think that's something they could ever do now. And I was young when I got my first home, and I was terrified to have a mortgage, and it's nowhere near what they're having to do now. But, take the first step. Talk to a great real estate agent or go and see a mortgage broker.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, because sometimes going into a broker can feel like going into the principal's office, and it did back then, especially when you were young, but it doesn't anymore.
It's so different.
It's so different.
When I was in real estate, I met this gentleman, and I won't say who he is because I don't want to, advertise for anybody. But he would come and talk to me when I was a real estate agent, and I thought, he's a really good guy. So I started referring people to him to say, go and have a chat to him. He was really good. Then I wanted to remortgage my own property, and I went and had a chat to him myself, and I was blown away at how good he was and how far he went for me to make sure I got the best deal. And then for me, it was so easy to refer him to people because I had that experience.
Yeah.
And, talk to your friends. If they've had a really good experience, go and talk to those people. Yes, they're there because it's their job, but they enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
And if you go and find out, at least yep, I can, or no, I can't. But don't ever be scared of the process is what I say.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I was talking to one the other day, and he's suggested everyone should go and have like a mortgage health check every sort of 12 months, 12 to 24 months, and because a lot of people just set them and leave them, and you never look at them again. But there could be better deals out there for people. You just
absolutely. And there's like they've changed a lot of the loan structure. Like I think they've got they've got bridging loans now that they stopped doing for a while. There's different bridging loans you can do.
Yeah, and they call it different names these days.
There's a way for mum and dad to maybe use the mortgage and use their property as equity for the deposit on your home. There's so many ways now that the banks are looking at.
Yeah.
But I think, if you go to a mortgage broker, they can put everything in front of you and you have the opportunity to get your own home. It's a great experience.
Oh, 100%. And like looking at Thuringowa, do you think that any suburbs in there at the moment would be like underrated where they should get into?
Yeah, look, Thuringowa has always been a family home residential, as you would know. So we have a lot of families by there. The problem we've had with, years ago when they had the first homeowners grant, a lot of people stopped buying the established homes. So we've got a lot of people that have been in their home for a very long time, and that broke the cycle of the real estate cycle. Yep. So there's a lot of homes that are real family homes in Thuringowa that have just been coming available. But we've got some new lots coming out as well in Thuringowa that I'm really excited about. There's going to be great opportunity to buy in the best electorate in town. So if you're looking at moving, Thuringowa is the place to be.
Yeah, because there was a real bottleneck with building, like if you go back a couple of years, between building approvals, lots available, that sort of thing, especially in Thuringowa. Like there's all this land like heading out the back there, but no one was doing anything with it.
No, and look, they are now. I remember many years ago they changed the urban growth boundary in Townsville because they had so much land and they were getting further and further out of the city and not coming in. I think that's changed now because they had about 20 years worth of land. But I think too what we have to remember is people will always be selling their homes. So, we do have that rotation, but we still need to have the new homes because people want them as well. The changes to building codes that happened back in 2020, I think 2024, before the election, the change to building code did scare a lot of people off because that meant that building homes became more expensive with the wider hallways, the wider doors. The bathrooms now have to be done differently, energy rating, all of that changed very quickly. I know the advocates for builders were trying really hard to not stop it because they knew that we had to make change to get houses ready. They wanted to prolong it because they knew it was going to be an issue with the housing crisis. Unfortunately, that went through before we got in, and it did put a huge cost change on these properties. So, that's changing now. Something as simple as, the doors being bigger meant that they're dearer to get to regional Queensland because you can't fit as many on a truck. Yep. So lots of things change. And the poor builders, they were being challenged by buyers to say, why is your price going up? Because it's really hard to believe it changes that much. But it did. But look, they're doing really, really good house and land packages. There's some great opportunities in every electorate in Townsville at the moment. We just can't wait to see these houses going up so that we can start getting people living a little bit more comfortably and get some of them into better accommodation, hopefully.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I agree, 100%. So what about the, would you support a more, the build-to-rent projects? I think we've got one coming up in Fairfield. Would they look at anything like that?
Yeah, look, that's always been one that people have looked at. Unfortunately, it's one that a lot of people are scared of as well. So, again, I just say to anybody, do your research on that. You have to make sure that it suits you long-term, not just short-term. I'm not an expert on it, but, look, anything that helps housing is worth looking at, definitely.
Yeah, and short-stay accommodation like Airbnbs.
Yep.
Do you think that a bit of storm in a teacup, or do you think they do put pressure on like rentals?
Look, I haven't seen the figures on that. So I don't know the exact. But when you take, properties that have normally had long-term tenants, you take them out and put them into short-term. Of course, it does affect the market. Maybe affected other places more than Townsville. But there's a market for that as well. We can't judge people on how they want to get income on their property. So
I think it might like affect people on the Strand or things like that, but whereas out in the suburbs, maybe not so much.
Yeah. But you know what? Let's not forget, we want people to come here and visit as well. So Airbnb is very popular for some of those travellers. So we need to have that industry to make sure when they get there they have a choice. But it certainly would have affected the market somehow.
Yeah. Okay. If you had a magic wand and could fast track one project, which one would you look at?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Look, I know crime is an issue for everybody. I really do. And if I could just wave my magic wand, I would want to deal with that straight away. But I have been out with one of the groups at night to go and talk to homeless people, and that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And, some of these people have no other choice to live it rough. We have some service providers that I talk to that are almost in tears saying that they don't have options to give some of these people that come to them for help, and they're literally helping them to live rough. To have to do that when your job is to make sure that you have a safe living environment for somebody is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I see it in their faces, and it is heartbreaking for me. So I think if we could have a magic wand and just solve the housing crisis, I think this city would be a much better place for it.
100%.
Yeah.
So say in 10 years' time, you're walking down Thuringowa Drive, what would you like to see?
Oh, look, I'd like to see every commercial building full. I'd like to see every child have the opportunity for education. I'd like to see it green. If we could keep it green, that would be nice.
Yeah.
And also too, I would really like to see people brave enough to go out and walk at 6 and 7 o'clock at night with their dog and their family like they used to.
Yeah.
But also too, I want to make sure that we're a city that prospers. And, the only way we can do that is to engage and invite investment into our city, and we have to make sure that what people see on the outside encourages investors to come to our city and to invest. We've never been a big place for tourism. Doesn't mean we shouldn't go after some of that. We are very lucky. We have survived through a lot of tough times because we're a garrison city. And as much as we respect and love them to be part of our family here in Townsville, we can't just rely on their economy forever. And I would love to see us grow, that we can have young kids finding jobs here, being able to, if they want to go to uni, they can be educated here and stay. I'm a mother of a daughter who lives in Western Australia. I love her being happy, but I hate that it's so far away, but she had to go there for the opportunity that she wanted.
Yeah.
But I just want this city to, and I want everybody who lives here to be proud of this city again, because I remember I was very proud growing up here, and I just want people to go, yep, we've done it. Here we are, we're prospering, we've solved a lot of the issues, and we can just move forward.
Yeah. Talking about kids and jobs, what industries do you think they should be looking at? Like defence, tourism, the ones you mentioned, or like university? Like where do you think the next wave of kids should look at?
I've had the great opportunity to speak to TAFE, to master builders, to HIA homes, to Boilermakers. I've gone around and had a look at every opportunity that our kids have. And I think we have to make sure that we're catering for the needs of every single child going through school. There's great opportunity that if you don't want to get a university degree, you can still get the education you need, but start on the course that you want. If you want to get a trade, I want to know that we have the ability for kids to do that. We need to work together to make sure. Now, I know when my daughter was looking at what she wanted to do, we looked at the growth of industries that were going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years. And we do know that we need a lot of tradies. It's hard to keep them here as well.
Yeah, it is. So what would you say to young tradies? Like if you could, you're standing in a room like you're at Tech and Field, something like that. To keep them here instead of going south.
Look, I think the most important thing for us is to make sure that the education is there for them, that they don't have to leave Townsville to go and get it. And this is a government who's investing a lot in education as well. We need to make sure that the schools are also providing that information to families and students to know that they can do something different.
Yeah.
I'd like to make sure that our universities here, even though that's federal, I like to know that the universities provide what we need to keep our kids here as well. Because not only is it difficult to lose your kids down south, it's very, very expensive for families to do that. And we do know that if you learn here, you do your trade here, you will more than likely stay here. And I think the whole BPIC incident that we had in Queensland where, a lot of our tradies went down south because that's where the money was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, during that, especially in that sort of 07 to like 08 when the GFC sort of happened. Then we had the Storm Financial. We had a whole lot of apartment complexes all around town going to receivership. There just wasn't the work here for people.
And
the Yabulu sort of stuff that closed at the time. So
look, you look at builders, we've got generational builders here in Townsville who they are great mentors. And, they struggle to get kids to take on the apprenticeship. They have an issue of them continuing on because they do something, they find something better. Every parent would say, if you start a trade, please finish it. But we do want our kids to be happy. So if they're not happy, I do understand that. But we need to make sure that we have everything available for them to make that choice of what they want to do.
Oh, 100%. And I think a trade would be great because especially looking at all the future in AI and things like that's fantastic. But if AI can't...
It can't do everything.
Do plumbing. It can't do carpentry. You need some hands-on roles there.
I think too, the most important thing that we have to understand is back in my day, so, I'm getting very close to 60, if you didn't get a senior education or didn't go to university, that was it for you. That was it. You went and got a job. There is so many opportunities available to people now to further their education as adults. So if you don't get the education or the training that you need when you're 16 or 17, and if you're 25 and you decide you want to be a plumber or an electrician, there are so many options available now. And I think that's a great thing that this younger generation have to understand. They have got wonderful opportunities now that was never on the table before, and just to make the most of that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. So tell us about just quick, like adult time, adult crime. Oh, sorry, adult crime, adult
crime, adult time. Yeah, look, this has come about not just because we sat around the table and said, let's think of what we can do. This has come about by years and thousands of doors being knocked on, where people were saying that these offenders were not getting what the community expected them to get on these horrendous crimes. So if you talk to some of the groups now, they'll say that these kids went out and did crime not understanding the consequences of what they were doing, meaning they wouldn't know what they were going to get when they went to court. Then they worked out that they were going to get a slap on the wrist and go home. So adult crime, adult time is about making sure that we keep up with the community expectation, that they're going to get consequences for their actions. Yeah. But it's also a deterrent for these children to know that if they do an adult crime and they go to court, they are going to do the time for that. It just means that they understand the consequence of this violent behaviour. And as I said, it started on the first tranche of that was the 13th of December, so we've got a lot of those coming through now. And, I'll give you a story from one of our hearings where a young boy was always, and not in Townsville, so I can tell the story, this young boy was always peer pressured to get into a car with his mates, a stolen car. Come on, mate, come on. And he got caught. And he was always a passenger, never the violent one. Didn't really want to go down the path of crime, but what else was he going to do at night when all his mates were? Yeah. So when he was caught with them, he had to wear a leg monitor. And one night they came around a stolen car, said, get in. And he said, look, with the monitor, they're going to be able to track us. They're going to know what we've done and we're all going to go down for it. So I won't get in. And he was grateful that he had an excuse not to get in that car. So not all these kids want to go into a life of crime.
Yeah, no, not always.
Yep.
And I think...
But if they see their mates doing these violent acts and going to court and getting the community expectation of their detention, it's going to deter them. So it's consequences for actions, but it's also saying, just beware, if this is what you do, you're going to get the time for that. So,
100%.
yeah.
And that's a really interesting story
Yeah.
too, because like as a, I guess the dad of a young boy, like I think you look at friendships and things like that, and often you can have a great kid, but he can be led down the path by like a bad friend. So I think you would do anything you could in your powers to sort of, I guess, stop that friendship.
Yeah. And look, that's why we're really, and we did an announcement today on some early intervention programs, staying on track. And what that is to make sure that these kids that you do see in the street at night, they're not really doing anything wrong, but they are on their way to finding something to do, which leads to crime. And, it's never been done properly before. Some of these kids, a lot of people say, why aren't they at school? They are disengaged. If you're a 14-year-old child and you're going to a normal school and you cannot read or write, that's why you're not going.
Yeah.
Because it's embarrassing. You can't keep up with your mates. You don't have any respect of yourself. It's a difficult time for them. So we have to make sure that we find these kids, we put them into programs that will help them get the education they need, get the health they need. Sometimes it's culture, sometimes it's family. We can't do one without the other. It has to be the three.
Yeah.
Early intervention, detention and rehabilitation. If we don't do all of those, we're never going to solve this crime crisis that we've had for over a decade.
Wow. And can you tell us about Daniel's Law that's just about to start, or it's just about to come in?
Yes, Daniel's Law. So that bill has gone to Parliament. So now it's gone to the Justice and Integrity Committee, which I sit on, and it's a great honour to sit on that because that's where a lot of this legislation change is coming through. Yeah. So now we'll investigate what other sex offender registers there are, and there's one in Western Australia that I think have been there for 10 years. There's one in Adelaide, they've been up and running for 12 months. So what we want to do now is to make sure that whatever legislation we make is going to work for Queensland and for the people that we want to help, learning from others. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to make sure that we have a swift outcome, but make sure that it's well informed at the same time.
Yeah, and you're not starting from scratch.
Not starting from scratch. So we're going to find out from them what hurdles they had when they first started, what have they improved on since, and then we'll have hearings where we invite the public sector. I think submissions close today. I'm not sure. Sorry, I haven't got that. But then we have hearings around the region as well to hear both sides, what the concerns are. But if you have a look at the Morecambes, I met them very early on when Daniel went missing and looked at them and thought, my God, these people are incredibly strong. But to be going on for such a long time to make sure that every other child is looked after. Now, they've been fighting for this for a very long time. LNP tried to put it through in Parliament in 2019 and it didn't go through. But I tell you, we're going to work really, really hard to make sure that it is legislation, but we're going to make sure we get it right as well, because I don't think anybody will disagree that we need to look after our children.
No, 100%. I think it's a great...
Even if you're not a parent, we need to look after our children. And if this is what we have to do to have our families informed, to make sure they can make... This is about parents being able to make informed decisions on, who's looking after their children or what environment they're in when these kids are out of their hands.
Yeah.
Now, some people don't agree with it, but maybe when they see us moving forward, making sure that we go through and get all the information we need to make the right decisions to make sure it is the right thing for our community. But don't forget, you have a government now who's not scared to make changes to legislation if it's required. We will keep up with community expectation, and we will also make sure that, if something's not working, we will do what we need to do.
Yeah, not just this, but if it's working, we're working. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I'm really, really proud of what we've achieved so far. And I just hope that we can continue to make our community feel safer in every aspect of their life. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. I guess just before, was there anything else you wanted to chat about today?
No, I'm just really excited to be here. I know it's all politics and not really nice topics, but, we have some great things that we do as well. And this job has given me the opportunity to be engaged with my community, and I enjoy every single day of it. And I just, thank you to those people that allow me to play that role in their community.
Awesome. Well, we've got a little bit of a tradition that we've started now at the end of the podcast. It's a just a couple short rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire.
If you're up for it.
feel under the pressure.
No pressure.
Okay.
No pressure, just a bit of fun.
Ready to go.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. If you had unlimited funds,
Yep.
where would you buy in Townsville or Thuringowa?
This is going to sound really silly. I love where I live.
Yep.
So I'm happy to stay there. It's just too big a block and I'm never home to mow it. So for me, but I will say I would always want to stay in the community in which I'm representing. So I know Townsville's huge, but I would stay in Thuringowa.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a good mower, man, if you need
Oh,
one,
thank
if
you.
go
Yeah,
the other way.
it's 1,000 square metre block, and I used to love mowing the lawn. Now it's a chore.
Yeah.
But
I do. Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
It just when life gets busy, sometimes it's the first thing to stop. So
look, this is
I'll
how
give you
great
an
my street is. Sometimes I've got home from a long week in Parliament thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to mow that lawn tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I come home from work on that Friday and the neighbour's already mowed my front yard for me.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
yeah, so pretty happy where I am.
Yeah, that's really lovely. So you go for a modern home or a Queenslander style home?
Look, I'm practical. Queenslanders, a lot of money to maintain and keep them the way they are. Sure. So I really need, I would like a really humble home that, it's not a lot of work that you have to go to it. Yeah. So sleek. And if you walk into my home, I have, no knickknacks. It's very, nothing on the benches. So I'm a very easy person to please.
Yeah. No clutter.
No clutter, no.
Strand Walk or Castle Hill?
Oh, I would say if I'm going for a run the Strand, if I'm going for a walk where I can sit at the end and have a bit of a relax and enjoy an afternoon, I'd probably do Castle Hill.
Yeah, okay. Best pub feed in Thuringowa?
Oh, best pub feed. Oh, gosh, that's hard because there's so many places in Thuringowa. But I will say during the election, if I did door knocking, letterbox dropping and my team came with me, we would go to Twin Cities for a meal at the end, and it was really hard to pick on their menu.
It looks so good there. I haven't been out there yet.
You should go. The food is incredible. I have never been disappointed. And it's great to have such a great, I think it's the biggest in Queensland, and it's in Thuringowa. Come on out and have a feed.
Yeah. Are there any hidden gems out there that people should know about? That you know?
Hidden gems. Look, there's some beautiful spots you can sit on the river when you go to Riverway. You just go on the grass and have a bit of a sit down. And the council's done a really good job cleaning the river up, so it's nice and clear at the moment. So that's a definite hidden gem there. And I've got some really good coffee shops as well. So, yeah.
Do you have a favourite Cowboys player, past or present?
Look, no, I don't. I just want them to win, so I cheer for all of them. And you know what? I don't want to be walking down the street and one of them go, "Hey, you didn't pick me." Yeah. So let's just say, love the team.
Okay, yeah, we'll take that. If Thuringowa had a mascot, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Look, you know what? I couldn't even think.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
A go-to song on like a road trip.
Go-to song. Look, it's one song that's dear to my heart is Eye of the Tiger, because my daughter was a singer, and when she was about 7, she had to perform that. So when that comes on, I really belt that out. But I have to say, Triple M this morning had on a bit of Prince, and I sent Cliffo and Kate a text message and said, thank you. So anything I can turn it up and pump in the morning to get me started. I don't have favourites, but yes, I do apologise if you see me going down the street and my car is thumping. It's because it's a good song, probably from the 80s.
That's the best way to get the day started, I think.
I know. And it was this morning. It was very early this morning, and it was a Prince song. And, I just pumped it up and enjoyed the moment.
Yeah, I think I live about 3 songs away from the office. So
you don't get too many?
I don't get too many, but we
just do a blocky, mate. Just do a blocky.
What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
Gosh, I'm an open book. There's nothing that I keep from anybody. But look, there's a few things that I could say that probably aren't for this show. Look, I'm a pretty open book. There's a lot of people do find it quite surprising that I've been a single parent since my daughter was 6. And I'm very proud of that. It was a decision I made. I loved her dad, just couldn't live with him. But, very proud of that decision. It was a tough one, but it was the best decision for all of us. And
I think that would be really hard. I don't think it would matter what side of the fence you're on in that sort of situation. I think it'd be tough for everyone.
You know what? It is really tough. But I remember my husband saying to me when my daughter would go and visit him, he'd go, I just don't want to make the wrong decision on anything. And I used to always say to people who come to me that were single parents saying it's going to be tough, I would say, when you're a parent, when you make a decision, you're doing it out of the love that you have for your child. And if, 2 weeks down the track you realise it was the wrong decision, it was the right one at the time. I have tried really hard to set a good example for my daughter. So, she's very motivated with what she does because that's what she's seen. But, one thing I can tell you that some people may not know, I've lived my life with one saying, and that is, once you lose your integrity, you never get it back. That's how I lived my life.
Yeah,
and
that's a good saying.
it is, because you know what, it keeps you grounded as well, and it also keeps you very honest. So, but yeah, being a single parent, a lot of people are surprised by that. They see me go to work in the morning in a suit and heels, and they think my life is just great. And I don't have to go home and mow the lawn or cook a meal, but I do.
Yeah.
I have to do both of those.
So if you weren't in politics, what job would you love to do?
Oh, gosh. I would love, if I wasn't in politics, I would love to have the ability of maybe winning the lotto and just volunteer.
Yeah.
I see the beautiful volunteers at the Townsville Hospital that have, they've been there for
the Brighter
years.
Lives Foundation,
Yes,
the
they've
front.
been there for years. You know why? Because they're good at it, but they love it.
Yeah.
And, I've had really good opportunities with this job to meet some amazing people. And I would say, I'd love to do what you do, but I just don't have the time. So if I wasn't in politics, it would be something in the community like that. I can't sing or dance, so it's going to have to be something very basic like volunteering.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a really good cause too.
Yeah. But I think in Townsville it's easy to find something to volunteer in because there's so many people who appreciate it.
Oh,
So,
100%.
yeah.
That's one of the things I think I've not just learnt with the podcast or talking to people, but whenever Townsville needs anything, everyone digs in, everyone says yes, everyone rallies together.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a great experience when we had the floods. I flew back from Brisbane because we were in Parliament, and I flew back, and as I got off the plane, I got a text message saying there's no sand out at Kelso. And my daughter picked me up, and I said, come on, we better get out to the dam and see what's happening. So we drove out there, and as I got there, the truck started emptying sand. And I looked at my daughter, and there were these poor old people there ready to dig sand. So I kicked my heels off, put my sand shoes on, still had my good clothes on the plane, and just started filling bags.
Yeah.
Now, I was there for the rest of the day and the next day and the next day. But what we were saying to people was just leave your bags and take the ones that are full. We were just filling them up and letting them go. The amount of people that came back after they had put their bags down, and I wish I had remembered the names of these guys and what battalion they were
to
with.
help people fill bags.
Yep.
Yep.
I had these 3 or 4 young army lads down there, and they were there for 3 days with me. They were just pumping them out. It was just such a joy to see them doing it. And somebody got out of the car and said, about time the army turned up. But what they didn't realise were these young guys, they lived on base, I think, or they had no issue with anywhere they were for flooding. They just come down to help.
Yeah.
That's what Thuringowa is about. The amount of people that helped on that day, it was just incredible to me. And I was just one of them, just one of them. It was just such a good day. Somebody brought me lunch down because I sort of been there all day. And, they're the things that I love. Our community rallying together at the times where we need them the most. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. I think I can talk to you for hours, but I think that's a
Me
a really
too.
good
Thank you.
note to finish on. So
Yeah, didn't get a lot of personal stuff out of it that time. If you think of anything, I'll come back and we'll have a bit of a...
yeah, we could do it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah,
Have a
let's
glass
do it
of wine next time and we'll,
Well, I did. I have an idea for another podcast. So
Yeah.
but yeah, let's do that.
Look,
It'll be
thank
great
you
to
for
have
the
back.
opportunity, and I'll really listen out for who else you have because we've got some great people in this city, and I can't wait for you to talk to all of them.
Yeah, get through and everyone's got a story to tell. So
have, yeah.
yeah.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for the time, Matt.
Oh, thanks, Natalie. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best channels to get you on?
Oh, look, the best thing is just to go onto my website. They can put in just a chat with Nat. They can contact my office. I've got a great team. Every email is answered to. Every email is looked at that day. And if I need to make a call to somebody, I'll make it myself and talk to them. But if you see me in the street, just grab me and I'm happy to chat.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nat, and thanks for everyone for listening. Thank you.